Welcome, everyone, to this year's Product at Scale Fireside Chat. I'm joined today by its distinguished guest, Khushboo Taneja. She's Vice President of Product Management at Meta, where she leads the Gen I Social Experiences team. Thank you, Khushboo, for joining us. I know you've been very busy with upcoming product launches and trying to balance family time during the summer, and I do appreciate the chance to talk with you today. But if it's okay, maybe we can first start to get to know a little bit about your personal journey here at Meta. I know your career spans technology and marketplace, commerce, and monetization, but tell us about the journey.
Hi, Joe. First of all, excited to be here. Thanks for having me. I've been with Meta for around 8 years, and these 8 years I've built a bunch of zero to one products, taken them to scale. Some of them are now billion-dollar businesses, like you mentioned, in the monetization business and marketplace. And I think just like looking at creators, looking at small businesses grow on our platform has been some of the things that that I've personally really enjoyed. And of course, I moved from India 8 years back. So Meta was the first company that I worked for, being in the US after we moved as a family. So it has a very special place in my heart. And currently, as you mentioned, I lead the product management team that builds, again, very zero to one products for consumers across the globe that focuses on the social, the fun, the creative aspects of using generative AI technology. Super early days, but it's been a lot of fun.
Hey, as a follow up, how has your understanding of AI evolved as you've been supporting the AI social experiences team?
Yeah, I think one of the most interesting things when I joined the org is when you look under the hood, beyond the hype of the new technology, beyond all the cool demos, the fact that you have to make this technology accessible to people at scale across the globe, we're talking billions of people, that's a different challenge, and there's just so much hype for all the good reasons, and it's exciting, don't get me wrong, about generative AI technology. We have to all acknowledge that we're just still very new. It has a lot of promise, but it's new. And so, as I've been working with my team in building products that is accessible to people at scale, something that they understand, something that they find useful, it's been a very interesting learning. Because if you take a step back, there aren't many successful playbooks that exist in the market today. And it comes with a lot of challenges in terms of user education, user acceptance. Some of these models are super new. I would argue some of this technology might or might not be ready for prime time. So I think that's been like the biggest understanding, learning, but also I feel like that's what makes this job really thrilling and exciting for all of us who's in the middle of all of this.
Thank you. I know that one of the products that your team is working on, and I'm very excited to have used, is the AI Studio, which is like which I think we're trying to make it the world's preferred destination for building and engaging in AI. Like for example, it's a platform that supports the creation of AI to help people learn, have fun, and do interesting things. Could you tell us some of the success stories or the things that are resonating with business advertisers or creators?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's super early days. We're learning, we will keep learning. But I think, like, just looking into the future, there are a few things that pop to me. I don't think we will live in a world where there is going to be one AI and one assistant to rule them all. People will need a diverse set of AIs that are serving different kinds of need. People will create AIs that are customized for their needs, especially when these models become really, really intelligent and they can actually perform tasks for you. You can totally see an ecosystem of AIs doing different kinds of tasks. That's the world we're all like going towards. These are just the first few steps. So, like for example, in AI Studio, you can, as like anybody, a big creator, a small like creator, a user, an aspiring business, anybody can go and create AIs that serve their need with absolutely no knowledge of coding. That's the promise of this platform. So that's where we're going at. So I think the first thing is I do see a world where there will be diverse AIs that are serving diverse needs for people across the board. Um, the second thing that's interesting about this thing is I do see, and we've seen this with some of the early tests that we have, had in the market. I'm very excited about seeing a new breed of creators who get created as a part of this ecosystem, because this is a new skill of building like AIs that are useful, that are fun, that are interesting, that are quirky. We're seeing all of these diverse kind of AIs in our ecosystem, and this is a special kind of skill. This looks like this needs special kind of creativity. So I'm excited to see a new breed of creators across the board come up on our platform. And the third thing we'll have to see is how do we do all of this, but in a way that's responsible for the society and helps people like evolve, and it serves their need. So I think those are three things that come to my mind. Again, like I said, early days, we have a lot to learn, but I'm super excited about what we're seeing early in the market.
I know that there's also many other companies diving into image gen and models that are getting very sophisticated. But what are you excited about the creative tools experience that we're delivering?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, apart from AI Studio, we also are building like fun, creative tools. That's something that I'm really excited about for a few reasons. First thing, if you see, self expression and creating great content has been a behavior that has existed in a lot of our platforms at Meta, whether you look at Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp. This is so core to our platform, right? People engage with each other through content and through self expression. And these tools are augmenting that. These tools are giving creative, or rather unleashing creativity across people. And so I always like give this example that a lot of people became photographers when the iPhone came out. A
Mhm.
lot of people started getting generating beautiful photographs when Instagram filters came out, right? And so I think look at these tools as tools that augment self-expression, that augment creative expression. I think that's something that already people are doing. And this just like gives them superpowers. In fact, the tagline of Imagine, which is one of the products that my team builds, is that if you can imagine it, you can create it. And that's like pretty thrilling. That's one part. The other part that I'm excited about is this gives creators and users a new way and a more powerful way to connect with their audience in fun and collaborative and social ways, which is so core to our platform. One example is that just like 10 days back, we launched this product called Imagine Yourself.
Mhm.
And that's just been such a huge hit because it's just fun. It's like, I can imagine myself as something that I would never be able to do. For example, like winning Olympics or something like that, and we've seen people use it in fun ways, and it's sparking conversation on messaging threads, and it's helping people connect with each other in very, very fun ways. And behind all of these are really, really complex state of the art models, because as you can imagine, um, doing all of this in a way that preserves the identity of the person in a responsible way. It harmonizes with the background. It's fair and inclusive across different skin tones, etc. It's a very, very hard, complex problem. But then the beauty of it is that it's given to people at scale in a very fun and collaborative way. So I think it's really fun. The whole creative experience is part of the work we do.
I know I'm excited about it. You're excited about it, but what's the early feedback from the early users? Any anecdotes that you can share?
Yeah, I think lots of fun things. For example, one of the things that we've heard is that a lot of messaging threads and friends and family is quote unquote on fire, because now people are imagining themselves in different settings. And, sometimes these models like actually don't do the best job. They actually do something wrong, and that itself is fun, which is interesting. So we're getting a lot of feedback on how it's sparking conversation in families and friends. It's given them new reasons to connect. There's definitely feedback on how can we do more. For example, people want us to not just imagine themselves, but to imagine themselves with their friends, and do it in a social way. So that's an interesting thing that we have to look at. But yeah, a few months back, we had also launched this new product called Flash, which was again a demonstration of like really state of the art model, which was generating images in like really in almost real time, which is amazing. And when we launched this product, one of the things that we did not realize is how people might use it. And one anecdote that we got from a lot of parents was that they were using it with their children for real time storytelling. And it's almost like let the child imagine what they want to imagine, and the product would just create it in real time, which was amazing. You never think of all of that when you're creating these like sophisticated models. But that's again, like I mentioned, the beauty of products that we build on top of some of these really, really hardcore, strong models.
Yeah, the AIs that we're building here at Meta, I mean, they have the potential to transform the social interactions and the community dynamics. And, at today's conference, we're exploring the technology and the business side of it, as we've been talking about. But there are also regulatory and social implications. What are your thoughts in terms of balancing innovation and accountability? What steps is Meta taking to ensure AI technology is developed and used ethically?
Yeah, such a great point. Um, like making sure that we're doing all of this in a responsible way, in a way that actually evolves a society and makes people's lives better, is so core to all the work that we're doing. I would almost say this is a feature. This is not something that we think of as an afterthought. And a few things, right? Like for example, people's privacy, people's like safety is so core to all of the things that we build, especially given that this is a fast evolving technology. It's so easy for all of us in the industry to get through a slippery slope where the technology is like ahead of all of this, and we have to make sure that we're not doing that. Because a lot of things, like, let's be honest, is unknown. We're really this is like an uncharted territory for a lot of us, right? And so responsibility is so core to it. So a few things, for example, right? Like making sure that all these models and the product that we're building is robust. So we put a lot of effort and a lot of investment in red teaming for adversarial threats, for example. All the things that I talked about, the AI studio work, image generation, these are powerful tools. And so we make sure that they are hammered enough through our red teaming before we put anything out in the market. That's one. The other thing is to make sure that there is user education. Like I mentioned, all of these models are like super early. This technology is fast evolving. And one of the challenges we have is the understanding of this technology, its challenges, the opportunities, how it works is limited across the board. And so, a few examples of things we have done is we were one of the first few to standardize the way of like labeling AI generated content for for users to understand that the content that they are interacting with is actually generated by an AI and is not real. So those are examples where we have to bring people along. So that's like one part. And the other interesting thing that you mentioned, Joe, was like the societal impact, right? Whether it's interacting with an AI, whether it's in interacting with an assistant for even a utility need, whether it's playing around with these like really powerful media generation tools, um, how are we enabling these products to foster the community and the collaboration spirit that has been so core to our platform is something that we often think about. So all the examples I gave you of like imagine yourself and Flash, the thing that I'm excited about is these are sparking human to human connection, and these are sparking like creativity, some of the things that is super dear to my heart. And so I think like as we're building products over these like really state of the art powerful models, keeping humans in the center of it, human collaboration, our community at the center of it is just so core. And of course, from a responsibility side, making sure that whatever we're putting out in the market has been like tested and made sure that they are ready for prime time, as well as user education is something that I think we all have to across the industry embrace.
Has surprised you about getting to this point in the process?
I think like what has surprised me, I wouldn't say surprised me, but I will say one of the things that I often think about, to be very honest, is that, like I mentioned before, a lot of this tech is new. And so, one of the things that we all across the industry, as we're building these products, have to be thoughtful about is that how do we balance this entire frenzy and this almost like how do we put the best thing out in the market because there is demand for it, versus how do we balance it in a way that we're doing it responsibly at a pace that is not throttling innovation, let's be clear, we want innovation, but it's being done in a way that people at scale have access to it in a good way. And so I think it's less of a surprise, but more of like the need for us to be thoughtful across the industry. And like I mentioned before, it's so easy to go through the slippery slope of this entire frenzy and hype of technology. We've seen this before, and we've seen this before when internet came about, etc. That what is today is most likely not going to be in like 5 or 10 years. Things will be drastically different. We're in super early days. Like this is all like early thinking and things will evolve. And so just like having that patience and the resilience and grit, especially as we're all builders of in this industry, I think is like so key for us to succeed here.
Yeah, as we talked earlier, these AI products they involve very complex algorithms and the technology is it's not easily understood by most end users, and so there are challenges on the product side on driving the go-to market strategy and communicating the value and to find that product market fit. As users may change their habits and behaviors. What are the challenges that you and your team are facing to kind of accelerate the adoption of AI?
Yeah, quite a few. Um, and that's all expected, right? Like with every new technology. I think the first one is the user understanding, like we've mentioned before. And that's important for multiple reasons. One, users have to understand how to best use this in a way that's useful to them. And secondly, they have to understand the challenges with it. The fact that these models can hallucinate, these models can make mistakes, right? And how do they have that understanding is an interesting challenge. So I think the overall understanding of the technology is limited, especially at scale. We're not talking about a small group of tech enthusiasts here. We're talking about 3 billion people across the world. And that understanding can really vary. So that's one thing. The second thing you briefly mentioned, regulatory and overall, like making sure that the products that we're putting out there has a positive societal impact. When you're building a product that is scalable across the globe, it brings with its own challenges because the cultural sensitivity, the policies, the regulatory landscape for every jurisdiction could be very different, for every culture could be very different, right? And like as you can imagine at Meta, because we think of our users at scale across the globe, that brings a next level of complexity. It is true for all our products, but it is obviously a little bit more complicated here because it's new and it's evolving. And so that's the other thing that is interesting and it's challenging. And the third thing is, I'll keep repeating this, that it's evolving, it's changing. And so when you are building products over a technology that is constantly evolving, that has its own set of challenges. And I think that's like I mentioned before, also the thrilling part of this job. One of the things that I found really useful is being collaborative across the company, across the team, I would argue even across the industry is super important in this landscape. Um, for example, working with like researchers on understanding human psychology and
Mm.
how might they use some of these products in a way that is not detrimental but is positive for the society. So making sure that we're involving all kinds of voices in the development of these products very early on is super important, right? We're not in a stage where we're in cruise control mode that product managers and engineers can get in a room and build the next product and next feature and iterate on top of it. But bringing everybody in the conversation is super important. And the last thing I would say is bringing like the users themselves in the conversation. A big part of this entire story for me personally is bringing creators along. They are the ones who have made our platform successful. They have grown on our platform, and their growth and success is like super close to my heart. And so in a lot of products that we're building, we're actually bringing creators along the journey, and we're learning with them and we're iterating with them.
You're right. Users are essential to building the product. How do you see the differences in getting big creators versus aspiring creators to adopt AI?
Yeah, great question. Look, whatever product we build, right, it has to have incentives for the users and for the creators. And if you look at the spectrum of creators who have grown on our platforms, it's like you mentioned, we have aspiring creators. There are creators who started from scratch and now have big thriving business because of Instagram or Facebook. And if you look at like international markets, I'm from India, a lot of businesses have actually grown on WhatsApp and they live on WhatsApp, right? So it's like super powerful. And then we have like big brands. And these are big brands which are like businesses or creators themselves. We're talking celebrities. The interesting part is that their incentives and their needs of the platform is very different. Some of them might care a lot about their brand safety. They care a lot about connecting at scale with their fandom. Think about like these celebrities or creators who have followers who are like triple digit millions followers, right? They want to be able to connect to their fans in a scalable way, but they cannot. It's just like the physics doesn't line up in terms of the number of hours, right? And so, for example, in AI Studio, the creator AI feature that we have, they've been very excited about that. But when you look at like small creators, the creators I was talking about, the new breed of creators, that's not the problem they have. What they really want is they want a way for them to express their creativity and build their business or build like a followership or build fandom around something totally new. That's something that they have skills around. And so that's like they're a very different need, very different cohort. They have very different incentives. And so the kind of features and products that we build for them is very different. And of course, the third side of the equation is the businesses.
Mm.
As you know, we're building business AIs and business agents, which I think are like super, super interesting because this is a problem that exists today. Think of all the times when you've been like hanging on customer calls for hours, and think of all the cost and inefficiency that goes for businesses and like making sure they're providing the right customer support to customers at scale. And so the same product, the same platform can serve different new needs across the spectrum of creators and businesses that we have. And that makes it challenging, but that makes it really fun. And I think that's what we mean when we think about creating products at scale.
Wow. Thank you. This has been an awesome and really insightful conversation. I appreciate that you shared with us what's possible with AI, leveraging the technology to solve the complex problems at scale. Technology only becomes useful when people use it at scale and people
So
use it to make their lives better in some way or other. So thank you for sharing this. Khushboo, I appreciate your time today. This has been an absolute wonderful conversation.
thank you, Joe, for having me here.
I encourage everyone listening today to stay engaged, stay connected, and I hope everyone has enjoyed the event. Thank you.